All right. Hello, everyone. This is Timothy Mark with Alexandria.
I hope everybody's having a great day today.
And we are the Tickle Trunk of Horrors. We have a website, tickletrunkofhorrors.com. And this podcast plays on many different platforms. The best platform to hear this podcast would be on Spreaker.com, because on Spreaker you can actually download the podcast and listen to it. It's easily, you can put it on any device and easily listen to it anywhere. It's also on YouTube, although a lot of the podcast listeners prefer Spreaker over YouTube, but since we do have some listeners on YouTube, we do post it on there. And we're on iTunes and sometimes Tumblr. So, okay.
And Tickle Trunk of Horrors is coming along really good again, so we're adding more stuff as the days go on. Very, very pleased with the website and with the new podcast series, Tickle Trunk of Horrors first. And I think before we get into today's guest and mentioning today's
hold on, let me add one more thing before we do that. We also World Paranormal Research Society, and right now there's a website called worldparanormalresearchsociety.org, but there will be one called worldparanormalresearchsociety.com within the next few days.
So that's up and coming. Stay tuned, folks. As always, we will post the appropriate links for all the new sites for you to keep track. We have a fan base, so we want to make sure that our fans and our many followers from around the world have access to being able to reach out. And
I was surprised to learn that we have listeners in Turkey. So for all our listeners in Turkey, I'd like to say hello. For our listeners in Bangladesh, I'd like to say hello. And in the United Kingdom, I'd like to say hello. And, of course, to all the listeners, I'd like to say hello. But it's always good when you have listeners in a place like Turkey and Bangladesh and stuff like that.
I think it's really super cool to have listeners out in those countries, as Timothy has mentioned, and they do have an interest in horror, the paranormal. So really, we are reaching out again, the Sage branch, to everybody around the world, and I think that's a very, very good feeling to know that you have listeners way out in different locations in the world. I would have never thought that, but I think that's great, and it's very welcome to everybody. So again, before we go into today's podcast and mentioning who the guest is, we cannot forget, and I'm going to really be politically correct probably this time only. Today is Sir Alfred Joseph Hitchcock. He died on this day, April 29th in 1980. So he was knighted, and he was born August 13th, 1899, but died today, April 29th. And he's really known as the master of suspense. And he has directed 53 feature films, and really a career spanning 6 decades. And he became well known as any of his actors thanks to his many interviews. And if you'll all remember, he always had a cameo role in most of his films. And he also was the host of Alfred Hitchcock Presents from 1955 to 1965. I remember that, watching that as a kid. Very liked that, how he would introduce that particular show. I'm a huge fan of Sir Alfred Hitchcock, and he was 80 years old when he did die, April 29th, in Bel Air, California. And he is from Britain. He was actually born in Leystone, Essex, England. And very impressed with his huge career. And really his first successful film was The Lodger, a story of the London fog, in 1927.
Let's take a listen to his theme music. that theme song was from his television series. Now, what's different about the television series than his movies was he was the host of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, but a lot of the movies that he showed on the TV shows were actually made by other people. Now, when you have The Lodger that Alexandria was talking about, one of his earlier films, Alfred Hitchcock was somebody who did not have a lot of money when he did that movie, and he had to create special effects that had never been done before. So what year did that come out? Do you know?
The Lodger was 1927.
1927. So special effects was not really, there was nothing for him to really go on. And there's a scene in the movie where the Lodger's upstairs and he's walking back and forth, pacing back and forth, and the people are downstairs and they're looking up towards the ceiling, and you can see the Lodger's feet moving back and forth. Alfred Hitchcock was actually the first one to use that effect, and he created that himself. He's created a lot of special effects in his actual films that he's done, and he's also credited to be the one who done the first slasher flick. Because before then there was horror movies, there was suspense movies, which he's the master of suspense, like Alexandria said. But with Psycho, that was really your first slasher flick.
And it's also interesting too, as he's noted to help shape again the thriller genre, and it's interesting to note that his 1929 film Blackmail was the first British talkie film. So that's a huge honor to have one of the first British talkie films. And two of his 1930 thrillers, The 39 Steps in 1935 and The Lady Vanishes in 1938, are ranked among the greatest British films of the 20th century.
And it's funny, I think the greatest film that he done, it was called a movie called The Rope. And I'm judging it from because I'm a filmmaker, so I'm judging it from a filmmaker's perspective. At that time, film only came, you only had 12-minute rolls, right? In a film. So the way Alfred Hitchcock did it was he was filming the whole 12 minutes uncut. Now that was very difficult for the actors, because a lot of actors today, they're trained to remember like 2 or 3 minutes worth of lines, and that's their training, lines, and then they'll go study some more for the next scene. With those actors that were doing The Rope had to learn all their movements and lines and interactions within a whole 12-minute period, which was awesome.
And Alfred, or Sir Alfred Hitchcock, obviously, in some perspectives, his portrayal of women has been the subject of so much scholarly debate, and he always has a very cool, icy blonde in a lot of his films as well. And, you know, just to go through some of his films, I mean, there's just so many of them. He had Ingrid Bergman, he had Grace Kelly, so many other actresses.
Jimmy Stewart.
Eva Marie Saint, I'm just talking about the
Cary
blondes.
Grant. Oh,
right.
The blondes.
Yeah, Janet Leigh, of course, are absolute.
Janet Leigh, my absolute favorite of all those.
And also another blonde was Tippi Hedren, who was actually the mother of Melanie Griffith as well.
And Janet Leigh is the mother of none other than
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Right. And
so
why is she called Jamie Lee Curtis? Because she took her mother's maiden name for the middle name, and Curtis, Tony Curtis, was her father, so she used his last name.
And if we even go through some of the films, again, Psycho was 1960, Vertigo, another one, was 1958, Rear Window, 1954. Timothy mentioned The Rope, that was 1948. Also, North by Northwest, 1959, and you know, everybody's...
The Birds.
Yeah, The Birds, I mentioned that, 1963.
Yeah.
And Dial M for Murder in 1954. So he was just instrumental in just so many films. And he also, another thing for all you people that study film, his film often featured characters that were struggling with their relationship with their mothers, such as Norman Bates in Psycho. And again, in North by Northwest in 1959, the character played by Cary Grant is an innocent man ridiculed by his mother. So again, in The Birds, Rod Taylor, his character is an innocent man, and he finds his world under attack by vicious birds, and again struggles to free himself from a very clingy mother, and his mother was played by Jessica Tandy. So those are just a few of the films that Alfred Hitchcock has used his characters as main characters struggling with their relationship with their mothers, and they've made for some heck of a good movies and films. And again, Psycho, how many of you after seeing that film couldn't go into the shower? I was one of them for a little while too, because you're always wondering if that's going to happen. So very, very instrumental in a lot of the films that he did, and he was really a mastermind as well. And I, grateful that he was able to bring film to really where it was.
Yeah, and the thing about the whole mother thing with Psycho, he didn't write Psycho. Psycho was actually a book that was already out, and it was a book based off. The writer actually based it off of Ed Gein, who in real life Ed Gein had a relationship with his mother, incestuous relationship with his mother. So the guy ended up basing Norman Bates' character off of Ed Gein, and it presented it to Alfred Hitchcock to make it into a film, and he debated about it. So originally he might not have done the film, and he decided to do it, luckily for us, so that was great.
And luckily for us too, that at a very young age, Hitchcock told his parents that he wanted to be an engineer. So luckily for us that he kind of expanded and really got into film. But look, Timothy said that he was really an inventor in regards to innovative techniques, and he was also way too young to enlist in World War I when it broke out July 1914. So again, very interesting. And after the war, he began dabbling in creative writing himself. So very innovative person, and we hope to have a further, more in-depth podcast on this amazing person in the slasher and the kind of the different genre of film.
Yeah, that was a little teaser for you. We're going to actually do a show on him. Now, I think by the time it came to the television series, when he was doing the television series, because he'd made so many movies by that point, that he was just taking whatever stories looked good to him. A lot of times the shows had actually already been produced and presented to him, and he just basically hosted it, which I was kind of disappointed when I found that out, because I always grew up as a child thinking that all the Alfred Hitchcock Presents shows were his. And that's why when I started my company, Timothy Mark Presents, I based it off of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. But really, literally, he was just presenting a show that had already been made versus doing the movies that he had a larger part in.
Wow, so very incredible. That's a little bit of a teaser for you all out there. But before we switch gears and tell you who our guest is and try and get in touch with our guest today, I want to sort of bring a little quote to you. And this is a very interesting quote that I found out. And this is the quote in quotations: "An idea, like a ghost, must be spoken to a little before it will explain itself." So isn't that all what we're doing in paranormal research? Is we're trying to have a ghost speak to us and explain why they're here. So this was a very interesting quote by, you'll never guess, Charles Dickens wrote that quote. And Charles Dickens, as we know, wrote A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, and that dealt with Ghosts of Christmas Past. But our guest today, who's about to be calling any minute, is Matt Feole, if I'm pronouncing his last name
or
right.
Feole.
Feole.
Matt Feole.
And he's with Gateway Paranormal Society, right?
Yes.
Gateway Paranormal Society.
Gateway Paranormal Society, that's correct.
And he happens to, it appears that they got a large team of people. I didn't count how many people they actually had. I had a chance to look at a lot of stuff they've done, and they seem like they got legit evidence. They're real paranormal research team, and that's who we try to have on the show. If they wasn't, we would not have them on the show.
I see in their picture on their Facebook page, I show 7 team members, and maybe Matt can kind of elaborate or clear that up for us. But I see 7 team members, and they are based out of Hendersonville, Tennessee, folks. So very exciting. Like I said, we had a ghost hunting team from the UK, Hastings. Now we're having somebody from Tennessee. So we really hope to bring different paranormal teams from around the world and get a sort of a gleam, a little bit of knowledge, and share some information with other paranormal teams. And
real paranormal teams.
Right.
They're located in Tennessee, so if you have a haunting in Tennessee or around the Tennessee area, they will be a good team to call. So.
And they also have a YouTube channel, and their YouTube channel is Gateway Paranormal Society _TN.
Tennessee.
So check that out for their videos and see what kind of information they have on there as well.
Yeah. So this is going to be pretty interesting.
Have you been to Tennessee? I've never personally been to Tennessee.
Yeah, I've been to Nashville, and that was probably the whitest town I'd ever been in. Was Nashville, Tennessee. Like, it's I've never seen so many white people in one spot.
Wow. Okay.
And so when I went through there, I actually thought that I was in a different country because I grew up in Georgia, and you got a mixture of people there. And when I went to Tennessee, well, at least Nashville, I'm only basing it on Nashville, Tennessee, there's just so many white people, I didn't even feel like I was in America no more.
Wow.
Yeah, it just appeared like it was a whole different place.
I've never been to Tennessee myself. I guess I've never had a reason to go, but it's just interesting to kind of touch base in different paranormal teams from all across North America and really all across the world. So getting a different perspective from Gateway Paranormal Society, and we'll be having Matt Feole joining us very shortly, and I hope everybody's having a good day today, and we appreciate feedback. So when you do go to our videos, have an opportunity. If you're listening on YouTube, we would prefer if you listen to us on Spreaker, but certainly like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is World Paranormal Society.
Yeah, we only have a handful of listeners on YouTube, but we'll keep sharing it there as long as they keep listening. Our majority of the listeners come from Spreaker, and that's because if you do want to hear a podcast and you'd like to go on Spreaker, you can download the podcast and take it with you, put it on any device, take it with you, and listen to it at any time where you don't need Wi-Fi to listen to it. So that's why we have so many people listening to us on Spreaker.com, actually around the globe. So yeah.
We just offer it on YouTube as well, because we do have a lot of people on YouTube that still prefer to listen to it on that. So that's why we offer it on the various venues, so all of our fans have the ability to be able to tune in and to listen to all the exciting topics and all the exciting guests that we have on our show. So look forward to that as well, and again, look forward to more exciting guests in the coming days, coming weeks, bringing more of it to you as well. And we're hoping to have a few paranormal investigations as well. So bringing a lot to you there. And again, our guest today is Matt Feole from Gateway Paranormal Society, based out of Hendersonville, Tennessee. So we'll get another perspective on how another team, and I did count 7 team members. I may stand corrected on that fact, and Matt can clue me in. So we're going to speak to Matt very, very shortly on what their paranormal team has encountered.
And actually, they got a cool logo. And actually, if you remember yesterday, I was showing you a tattoo. And remember, I asked you this tattoo. I said, what does it mean? And it's actually, now looking at their logo, it's the same... that tattoo is the same tattoo that's their logo.
So very interesting. We'll ask Matt why they chose that for their logo for the paranormal team, and people have things that are very important or very symbolic to them. Hang tight, folks.
Hello, you on the Tickle Trunk of Horror show? Is this Matt?
This is Matt. How are you doing?
I'm all right, man. This is Timothy Mark with Alexandria. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. We're been sitting down here at the tattoo shop having a team meeting this morning.
Oh wow, yeah, we were just talking about tattoos a while ago. Yeah. Right before you called, actually, I was saying that I seen a tattoo last night that has the symbol that you use for your logo, on
Oh yeah.
on somebody's tattoo, and I was kind of wondering what does that logo stand for?
So that logo is the Nordic Compass. Casey, who's our co-founder and lead tech, he mentioned using that logo as, for us, because I came up with the name Gateway Paranormal Society. I realized the initials are GPS, and I was like, man, we should get some kind of like cool looking compass or something like that. And he's like, well, let's do the Nordic Compass. He's like, it's got an awesome meaning behind it too. It's, finding your way through the darkness type thing, finding your way through the tough weather, tough storms, and I was like, cool, man, let's use it. And it also acts as a protection symbol, so it's a multi-purpose logo.
Yeah, we like it. It looks pretty good. We're just going to ask you, because we were trying to figure out, on the picture for your company, you have 7 team members?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, we run a lot for our cruise, but as far as numbers of people, but it all works out. We split off into two teams and tackle the locations out like that. Especially we're at Hell's Bar Dam all the time, and that place is gigantic. So we just split off and investigate, never hear each other throughout the whole night, and collaborate with our experiences at the end and try to make some cool footage out of it.
Yeah, I was looking at your stuff. You got some pretty good stuff out there. What's the worst location that you've done?
The worst location I've done?
As far as like demonic, have you encountered demonic activity?
Man, I would say Wilden Manor can get pretty nasty sometimes. That's in Central City, Kentucky. Now, I don't want to call anything demonic. I'm not a demonologist, but if I had to guess, that's exactly what I think's in there. But like I said, don't quote me on it. I'm not a demonologist, but, we were there the last time. My other lead investigator and I were downstairs doing an introduction for the maze. They use this building as a haunted attraction during haunted house season. And, so they have like a little maze set up in the basement, and sitting there doing an introduction. Hey, this is the maze. The other side is right here is supposed to be a portal to the dark room upstairs, and we cut the camera. I'll look over, and there's this like 8-9 foot tall figure standing there, and it's pitch black, but you can see the darkness of this figure that is more dark than the pitch black of the space down there, and man, it was intense looking, and I immediately started getting nauseous. I started getting like not out of body experience, but I was walking through the rest of the building, kind of like I was in my body, but I didn't know what was going on for a little while, and so I stepped outside and went to go grab a bite to eat and got it back together. But man, that was and we caught some crazy growls out of that building. It can get intense at times. We got some team members scratched there. It's got something nasty in there, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, man. 8-foot shadow. That's pretty crazy.
I have a question for you, sort of maybe a twofold question, if you don't mind. And you've probably been asked this to death, but I think it's important for our listeners they may want to know this. How long have you been doing what you've been doing? And was there a particular incident that afflicted you, that inspired you to form a paranormal team?
Sure. I've been actively doing this for 11 years now. I've been on 2 other groups and wasn't really huge on how they operated. I still love investigating, obviously. But just as far as the seriousness of the group and trying to go outside of just 1 or 2 locations throughout the whole year. So we started our own group doing this. And as far as experience, that had to stem off of when I was a child. I was maybe 10 years old, going through, I was asleep in the house, and then I wake up and notice my lamp was on. Said, okay, well that's weird. I usually turn it off. Maybe I forgot. And sitting there, kind of just didn't feel right. And then my bathroom door opens up, and there's this shadow person standing in there staring at me. I take off running, tell my parents, hey, there's something in my room. They didn't believe me, but they did end up, for whatever reason, as I was, me being a child, I thought, hey, I'll switch my room. I'll go to this room across the hallway and sleep in there. Nothing scary is going to be in that room. So I did that. Woke up one night and saw this figure of a little girl standing in the hallway. And I was wiping my eyes because I had just woken up, so maybe the light's messing with me or something. Wiping my eyes, it's still there.
Right.
And I'm like sitting there staring at it, and it's just standing there, and then it walks down the hallway and it's gone. And my brother had experiences in the house as well where something was holding him down one night and shaking the bed real hard, and he ended up getting up and coming into my room, and he's like, man, can I sleep with you? And I was like, I guess you're in middle school, but whatever. And
wow,
so that's how that all happened. And I had some more experiences throughout the, I had one other house I lived in that had some activity in it. And but ever since that experience, I've just been hooked. I was getting books on it. I was researching, getting stuff in the library because internet wasn't that available yet. So I was, hitting the books hard on it, trying to figure out what's going on and if anybody else has had experiences like this. And then shortly after that, Ghost Hunters Tap Screw came out, and I was like, man, this is some real stuff, and just all into it. And I was like, I want to do that one day, and now here we are.
Oh, that's great. That's you're in it. That you've had experiences, and one thing. Do you use any psychics or any mediums? I myself is an empath, so I can give a different perspective, but I'm not sure if your team has a resident medium or psychic. A lot of teams do.
We do not currently. We're looking for one that we feel comfortable using. We know a couple people that are, and Stephanie that hosts the TPX radio show. She's awesome. She lives in Detroit. We're right outside of Nashville, Tennessee, so it's not really going to work. But we have a couple people we're talking to around here. I myself am a sensitive, and that's as far as that goes. I can pick up on energies, but definitely looking for somebody that I feel would be legit and an actual psychic medium. I'm sure y'all seen it too. There's lots of them out there that are not the real deal. They'll claim to be psychic mediums, and they're not. So we really try to make sure if we get into that, we're going to get somebody that is the real deal.
Yeah, there's a lot of frauds out there, and the only people that we have on our show is people that we actually research and we see that are real. And that's why we were glad to have y'all on the show, because we recognize y'all as a real paranormal research team. And but as far as mediums go, yeah, there's a lot of fake mediums out there. Yeah.
And I think people have to understand that there's no such thing as a dial-up psychic or a dial-up medium. And me being born with the ability, it just, we can't make ghosts appear or make them say something. It just doesn't really work like that.
Right. Well, I really do appreciate the comments. We really try hard to stand out in this field and really make sure we're trying to think outside of the box and try stuff differently. Go about our investigation tactics a little differently from some of these other groups, and whether that's reenacting something or trying to use different trigger objects or the way we split up the teams or however it works out. We just try to do something differently every time. We don't like to get into the same routine.
Now, do y'all use a Ouija board at all?
No.
Okay.
I will steer clear of those all day long.
Yeah, that's good advice. And I have something else that I'd like to say. And prior to you saying that you were a sensitive, I was going to tell you that myself. But I think if you were to go more into it, and if you would do more intensive meditation, I think you would really open your third eye up and have the capacity to be, maybe not. I wouldn't use the word psychic or medium. I think you're more of maybe an empath that picks up energies. And I think if you would hone or focus on your abilities, I think you would open up different horizons on. Because, you were born with that ability as well. That's why you've had several different experiences throughout your life and maybe not understanding why it was happening to you. So that's just a little bit of a tidbit, is that if you would maybe delve into it more, I think you would really be pleasantly surprised on what you could accomplish or what you could achieve maybe for your team.
Sure. And like I said, I talked with Stephanie from DPX. She's incredible, but she's kind of said that I might be empath as well, and she's kind of given me some exercises to start trying to hone in on that a little bit, because I started trying to do it myself on investigations and started noticing, like, I'd be opening myself up too much or not opening myself up enough, or whatever the case might be, and either reaction was not fun. So now I've gotten some good guidelines and good starting points. So it's really cool to to know that all this is in the works.
Great, that's good.
How many locations have your current team that you're with now? How many locations have y'all done?
Let's see, we've done. Location-wise is not a whole lot right now, because Hales Bar Dam, we've investigated there this year probably 12 times already. So we're there a lot. We're their home team. So we try to do everything we can to get out there a lot. But we've been out to Octagon Hall, Canyon Log House, Wilden Manor a bunch. Headed up to Brushy in July, Brushy Mountain Penitentiary, possible Ohio State Penitentiary, Waverly Hills.
Now the dam that you do, because you've been out there so frequently, like, what kind of evidence are you catching out there?
We catch, well, the stuff we mostly actually catch and document are, we get some incredible EVPs out there. We've got some shadows, some crazy light anomalies. I'm not big on orbs, but at all. But there's been some times where we'll see some flashes of light that should not be there. In the tunnels where there's no windows or it's underground, you get some light flashes that definitely should not be there. So we're friends with another team, East Tennessee Ghost Seekers. They were there, I think, maybe a week after one of our locations, and they had caught a full-bodied apparition of a little girl on camera inside the tunnels. So it's that place is always producing stuff. We had, last time we were out there, we had something grab a hold of our REM pod and made that thing go off for 25 minutes straight. Then killed the battery, turned it back on. It went off for just a little bit longer and then stopped. But that place is crazy. I've gotten the highest mel spike I've ever seen on my mel meter. Had that thing go up to 154, and I've also had it top out. A digital mel meter topped out. It just red dashes across the line, across the screen, and that's insane because there's no power in that building whatsoever.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive. Now that you were touching on a few items, what would you recommend to other people wanting to do paranormal research, some key tools or that they should have being a paranormal investigator? What are maybe the top 5 things that they should have being a paranormal investigator?
I would say, especially people that's first getting into this, I would say keep it basic right now. Just go get you a digital recorder, some sort of camera, a spirit box, and probably an EMF meter. Obviously, everybody's list gets larger and larger as they investigate and actually get in these haunted locations and get to try out this equipment. They start finding more and more things that they want to use, and that's all part of it. We still have a huge list of things, but I would definitely say digital recorder, a camera, an EMF meter, and possibly a spirit box for people starting out in this field.
Now, when you say that you use trigger objects, can you give us an example of what kind of trigger objects you use?
Sure. So we were at Rosemont investigating in Gallatin, and there was a room in there they call the judge's room. So back in the 1800s, that was a room where, women weren't allowed. That's his business room where he would sit and drink whiskey and smoke cigars and talk business with people. So, we brought in cigars in there and whiskey bottles or whatever to try to replay, some of that. Not even asking any kind of investigative questions. We'll be like, hey, who do I need to talk to about getting a horse out here? What kind of work trade-off can we do? I'm trying to do this kind of work or whatever, and it's not the typical who's in here or what's your name type questions. It's really trying to replay what would be going on in that room at the time.
Okay.
That's pretty important. I think that's a good way to incorporate trigger objects in investigation.
Absolutely.
What protection things would you use?
So our group is big on prayer. The majority of us are Christians.
Hey, Matt. Matt, you coming across muffled right now.
Yeah. So it's that's.
Are you do you got a microphone on or something? Because I'm it's kind of like I can't hear you right now.
I might have had my phone pointed down. Can you hear me better now?
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay.
Sorry about that. My phone was tilted a little away from my mouth there.
Okay.
So yeah, protection wise, we are big on prayer. Most of us are Christian guys. We don't try to push that on anybody, but so my personal belief is, my God he has my back. He's going to make sure I'm okay in there. And I also wear a St. Benedict pendant. And some of the guys on the team, they use protection stones, or whatever they want to use. But me personally, I'm big on prayer, and I'm big on my pendants or my crosses or anything that's following my religion. That's what I'm wearing in there.
Now, have you ever run across a location that you cleansed, or are y'all just doing the gathering the evidence?
We have cleansed a couple residential homes. We've cleansed one bigger location, which I don't want to get too much into that just because it's a little confidential. But yes, we've done some cleanses for sure. We go in there, we'll pray over the building, and but we also will use sage. We'll go in there and sage out the building, make sure we're going through each room counterclockwise, doing the whole 9 yards to flush whatever negative energy is in there out.
How do you, prior to an investigation, other than having, a team meeting, how do you prepare? Because there's some people that have strict protocol on how they prepare prior to an investigation. How do you personally kind of get psyched into going into a location?
Well, me personally, I used to play I call it my football hype up. So I used to play football back in high school, and I will sit there the night before and the day of, and won't be really speaking much. I'll be really focusing in on what my goals are for the investigation and what to be prepared for, and really just getting in the zone and ready to just tackle this thing and knock it out of the park.
Right.
You know,
that's
sitting
good.
there just getting hyped up in my own mind and praying and just ready for it.
Okay. Now when y'all do you ever do the Saint Benedict's prayer when you're doing a cleansing on the place?
We have, and we've used the Archangel Michael prayer. But we have Tommy on our team, who is investigator, camera guy. He's awesome. He actually wrote us a prayer that came. It's a little bit of a scripture that he's intertwined throughout the prayer, and that thing is powerful. We use that a lot. It's I mean, it's like a 2-minute prayer, but it's powerful. It'll give you the chill bumps for sure.
Well, that's good. Has you or anybody else in your team ever brought something back home that you took a long time, or really took maybe a spiritual, physical, or an emotional toll on you?
I have a long time ago, whenever I first started getting into this, at the time was not in the right mindset to be doing investigating. I didn't have any protection, and went out to a location, investigated it, and then started noticing things, and it got really ugly really quick, and that's actually how I decided to become a Christian, was from all of this, was realizing if that's out there, then the other side is out there, and that's how I decided to become a Christian, and I prayed, got my act together, and finally got that heat. And it wasn't easy, but definitely had to stand my ground and do some prayer and some, make sure that thing knows that's not welcome in my home. It was not easy. I would say to anybody that's listening right now, be prepared, be protected by something before you go out and investigate.
Now you
will bring home something for sure.
That's true, very true.
Now you said that before that on the EVPs that you caught some growls. What's the besides growls, like what would be the craziest EVP you ever caught?
I mean, I always love the direct responses. Any kind of, we're at Hellsbar Dam, for example, and we said, do you choose to be here or are you trapped? And it responded, I'm trapped.
Wow.
We were at Octagon Hall, and I heard something tapping on one of the display cases in the room they used to use for, like the hospital room back in the Civil War. I said, man, I just heard something tapping on that glass. And on the recording, it says chloroform. And there was chloroform in that display case. And that's not an easy word to come out. And I didn't hear that personally, but every single other person that heard that EVP heard chloroform. I heard the voice clear as day, but I was not making out chloroform for whatever reason. It happens. I'm sure y'all have seen it. There's EVPs out there that somebody can hear somebody saying yes, and somebody else not hear the word yes. They'll hear something else. But every single other person besides me has heard chloroform. So I'm just going ahead and saying it was chloroform. I mean, but yeah, that was crazy. There was chloroform in that display case. It makes complete sense. So any kind of disembodied voices that we actually get to catch on recordings. They're awesome. We caught, let's see, one of the spirits at Hell's Bar Dam, we caught her saying the word yes. We're all kind of like, there was 3 or 4 of us in a semicircle, just doing a first EVP session, and we heard her say yes right in the middle of all of us, and we caught that yes on the camera mic, and that was pretty awesome.
Hey Matt, when y'all running EVP sessions, are you just using an EVP recorder, or are you using a white noise generator as well?
We're just using an EVP recorder. The Olympus recorders. That's pretty much all we use. And I think there's been time where I've had to use my phone just because we were doing a walkthrough during the day. I started noticing activity and said, I don't have my recorder with me. Crap. So I decided to start recording on my phone and ask a few questions. And but yeah, for the most part, we're just using plain old recorders.
Now, when you were using your phone, did you catch EVPs or?
We caught one, and it just was a quick something saying, "Hey," and but phones definitely work. I mean, again, anybody that's listening, you can definitely use your phone to pick up EVPs. A lot of people do it. I personally don't do it because I don't want to kill my battery even more while I'm on an investigation, but phones will absolutely work.
Now y'all have a website, and what's your just for the people listening out there, for anybody who might want to get in touch with you, what's your website?
So we're in the process of getting an actual website together, but we have all of our social media outlets. We have we're on Facebook at Gateway Paranormal TN. We are on Twitter at GPS_TN. We're at Instagram at Gateway Paranormal Society. And we have a YouTube page, Gateway Paranormal Society, and that is all one word on the YouTube channel.
So now if somebody had, like, let's say somebody's living in Tennessee today, they hear this and they're having a haunting, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
So they can email us at Gateway Paranormal Society at gmail.com. They can get on their Facebook page and message us. And our phone number and contact is all on that page. And we're also on the National Paranormal Society's website, listed under there with our contact information. You can just go to paranormalsocieties.com, search under Tennessee, and we're there under Gateway Paranormal.
Okay, and we noticed that you have an event coming up, just for the people listening out there. It's the public investigation at Hell's Bar Dam. For anybody that may be wanting to join y'all.
Absolutely, it's going to be on May 26th. Tickets are $30 for entry. We're going to be investigating from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. We'll have all of our equipment out. Some people that come out bring their equipment as well. This is one location that I can 100% of the time, if you are going to make a trip to Hell's Bar Dam, you will have a paranormal experience. And I cannot say that about other locations, and I'm not just saying that because we're the home team or we're having an event there. Like, there's a reason why we wanted and fought so hard for this location. It's incredible.
Now, for the people listening out there, no, you're good. For the people listening out there, you made it very easy for them to pay too, because you have a PayPal link on there, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there's a PayPal link on there, so if anybody they can go ahead and prepay, which is great.
I had a question.
The PayPal link is up.
That's good. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you can go ahead. I'll just comment back.
That's okay.
On the PayPal link.
That's good to have that. And how is this your first public investigation? And how do you find doing investigations with giving the public an opportunity to get out there and investigate? I think it's fascinating.
Sure. This will be our second I guess it'd be our technical second public event that we're hosting. Our last one was at Hellsbar Dam as well. We were the special guest investigators. In this one, we decided to just take on all ourselves and promote it, do all that fun stuff. So, and anybody that's out there that's listening, as far as how do people get in touch to go investigate, an easy way is to not only watch our team. Some of these places are pretty expensive to shut down for the night to get get in there by yourself and investigate. So, but there's always means of contact. So you can get on these people. You can get on, if you want to go investigate Hellsbar Dam, you can go get on the Hellsbar Dam website, message them, and they will quickly respond, give you some prices, some answers. But you can also watch your teams from wherever you're from. So if you're in Tennessee, you can watch Gateway Paranormal. We'll have much more events coming up this year, and even more events coming up next year. And that's a good opportunity to come in and experience the paranormal, and not cost an arm and a leg. It's pretty much the price of a dinner and a movie.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend people using your team to do it versus going out there by themselves to start, because especially if they're not familiar with how to do a paranormal investigation.
Oh yeah, it can definitely get ugly. There's a lot of people that go out there, and that's another thing I'll mention. If you go to these events and you haven't been to an investigation before, and you're not noticing things happen right off the bat, you always have to remember these spirits are not going to be acting on command. They're not circus animals. They're people that have to gain energy to respond to you, and you don't need to treat them as, hey, you need to touch this device to make it light up, or you need to do this for us, or do that for us. Like, sure, they'll do it, and they'll let you know they're there, but it's kind of on their terms, and just don't be getting rude about it, because then that turns into, a provoking situation, and that's when you start getting yourself into a nasty situation, and spirits might act out on you pretty nasty sometimes. So, again, if y'all are listening and you haven't been through an investigation, just steer clear of the provoking when you're in these places.
I think what people have to realize is that when they attend your event or any event, that this is not a TV show; it's real life.
Right.
And
that's absolutely right. You can watch some of these guys on TV all day long, and they might make it seem one way, but and we know some teams that or one of the teams that's been on TV, the Wraith Chasers. They're great people. They have a strong faith base behind them. We actually went and saw them yesterday, but they will be quick to tell somebody, be careful when you're in these locations. You have to have protection. You can't be provoking. It's not like it is on TV. They have to make it entertaining on TV, obviously.
Absolutely.
When you're out there in real life, you have to pay attention to what you're doing.
That's right. And I know during this particular interview, we've spoken a lot about Hellsbar Dam, but for those of the people out there, what exactly is Hellsbar Dam? Maybe sort of so people interesting. What's intriguing about this particular location for those that aren't aware of where it is and what it is?
Sure. Hellsbar Dam got finished construction in 1913. It was the nation's first big operational hydroelectric power plant, I guess you would call it. And but the dam itself was built on limestone, which people that are listening that don't know, limestone is a big energy harbor for, especially for residual energy. And there's also, it's built around mountains that are nothing but quartz that harvest energy, and it has running water. It has a whirlpool in the middle of this dam where they have this big area of water. There's a natural whirlpool that's in there, and so a brief history of that. That whirlpool has always been part of the river. Back when Native Americans were on the land, they would believe that they could see their ancestors in this whirlpool, and if you got too close to it, you know, you'd be sucked in, or your soul will be sucked in. So there was an illegal treaty of the land back in the late 1700s. I can't remember the exact date off the top of my head right now, but there was lots of bloodshed, and Chief Dragon Canoe cursed the land and made it inhabitable for people living or being prosperous on the land. And so throughout the damn history of construction, there was lots of problems with construction. People been rumored to fall on the walls and die. They just concreted them up. There's been people that got murdered on the property, you know, back way early. You know, you have a problem with somebody, they're quick to shoot you. So there was a lot of that. One of the most powerful spirits there, her name is Linda. We're still trying to figure out her story, but what we know now is that she got thrown out of a window, and that place is just gigantic. It's been featured on Ghost Adventures, been featured on Ghost Hunters. It's an incredible location. I feel like I could talk about this place all day long, but it really is an incredible location.
Let me ask you a question that's off the paranormal, which would be, you said you're in a tattoo studio right now. You about to get some new ink?
I'm not. Casey actually is getting some new ink right now. He's getting a tattoo of Kenny Powers on his leg.
Okay. Who is that?
So he's I'm not even really sure, honestly. He's from some TV show.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't heard of that one yet, but that's awesome, man. I'm wanting more ink myself, so I can't wait to get my next one.
Oh, I love the ink. That's y'all talking about saw the Nordic Compass on my elbow. This is the same place we got a Second Skin tattoo. He's Wes. He's on our team, and he tattoos here as a living. So it's a good connection.
So when we get out to Tennessee, we need to stop in and get a tattoo from Wes then.
That's right.
Yeah.
He'll hook you up. He's incredible.
What's the name of the shop out there?
Second Skin Tattoo.
Okay, Second Skin Tattoo. That's for everybody listening that's in the Tennessee area.
And I also wanted to talk real quick about some new equipment that's coming out. We have been talking with the guys that operate Ghost Site. They're a new company. They're about to launch their website in May. They're going to be making some incredible equipment. They have these camera mounts that are ridiculous. They will do everything. You can mount tons of stuff to them. He showed me a picture of his mount that he set up. Has a GoPro, regular camera, some IR lights, thermal camera, microphone. These things are awesome. They're easy to handle. He's going to be coming out with some of his own version of a thermal camera, some heavy-duty night vision lights, IR lights, 360 motion sensors, all kinds of stuff. Anywhere you look, you can see all this equipment, and they're charging. Some of these places are charging crazy amounts for this. This guy Joel is making sure you're not going to just completely destroy your pocket whenever you buy a piece of equipment. So
now,
be on the lookout for that.
What's the name of his website again?
Ghost Site, SITE.
Okay, ghostsite.com.
That's right, and it's you can find them on Facebook pretty easily. Just type in Ghost Site. They're there. It's a new page, but he's posting up some new stuff all day long. He's getting backed up already with orders, so it's some really cool stuff.
Well, that's awesome, man.
And it's very refreshing to speak with an individual that represents a team that really has, for a lack of better words, has the right stuff and is in the paranormal field for the right reasons. And Timothy and I, we really like to kind of collaborate, get into think tanks with other teams. And I think it's, again, for our listeners out there, you guys are the real deal and you're in it for the right reasons. And I think people can glean knowledge from just speaking to other teams, and I think it's great that you know your stuff, and it's refreshing to have somebody that knows their stuff.
Absolutely, and I really appreciate that. It's the thing that people need to remember. There's a lot of egos in this field. There's a lot of people that claim to be experts, and we're not one of those. There's experienced investigators, and there's experienced people in this field, and that's where that stops. There's no expert in this field. So we're just here to share knowledge and obtain knowledge. We're not above listening to somebody give us advice. That we love it.
Yeah, you definitely hit on the point. You definitely hit on the point that nobody's the expert. So
we're all on the same paranormal journey to learn.
That's right. Yeah, I like the way that you put that, man.
Absolutely true. It's I love the cheesiness of it, the para-unity, but it's an incredible thing. You can meet all kinds of people in this field. They can share their experiences with you, and you can share your experiences with them, and give some, whether it's a new technique of investigating or a new piece of equipment or something that worked for them in an investigation, and vice versa. It's just an awesome thing, and I really hope and wish that more teams would get behind it. Like I said, there's a lot of people that's out there that have large egos, and it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, well, man, we could actually interview you probably all day long. You're a good person to have on the show because you actually full of information, and you talk real well on here. But we're actually,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're actually running out of time right now. But what we'll do is we'll continue to promote your public event that you're having. So
Awesome.
we'll remind people on our next few shows all the way up until the event, and maybe we'll have y'all back on if you want to, 6 months down the road or something.
Hey, that'd be awesome. I really appreciate the time, and I love talking to you guys.
We appreciate your time and wanting to join our show. You've been a real great guest, and we really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you guys so much, and just once again, anybody listening, check out Gateway Paranormal. We got our events up there, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Type us in. Look for the Nordic Compass.
Hey, Matt, tell your buddy there to send us a picture of the tattoo. We'd like to.
Hey, will do. I'll tag y'all on Twitter on it.
All right, awesome, man. I appreciate it. You have a good one, okay? Thank you for being on the show.
Take care.
Hey, you too.
All right, bye. So that was Matt Feole, which we didn't even ask him how to pronounce his last name, but I'm guessing Feole.
Yes, I believe so. And from Gateway Paranormal Society, and they are based out of Hendersonville, Tennessee, folks.
Very professional company. I like the way that he talked during the interview. We could have did a whole another hour with him, actually, but unfortunately we were running out of time. So we will have him back on the show in the future here, and again, that's that Hell Bar Dam.
They're on May 26th is their public investigation at Hales Bar Dam, and they do have an event page on Facebook where you can pay through PayPal. If you're going to be in that area, check it out and sign up for their public investigation May 26th, folks.
Well, even if you're not in that area and you could a few hours from the area take a ride out there and check it out, it'd be a nice vacation thing to do.
And what a thing to take part in with a very professional team.
If we was not in Texas and we wasn't busy ourselves, we'd be there with these guys. Even though we've done paranormal research before, it's always nice to go to a location with a team that's already familiar with the location.
Absolutely, and they did mention as well Ghost Site, to check out Ghost Site for tools and equipment in the paranormal field as well.
So that's it for us, and later.
Take care.
Thank you again, Matt.
Thank you.